Verse 6. And when the woman saw it was good for food, and it was pleasant to her eyes, and the tree to be desired, to make one wise, and she took fruit thereof. After Eve had saw, she had looked upon it, and she had saw it was good. She had changed her mind. Basically, Satan made Eve change her mind after she got all the instruction and everything from the Most High. And then she changed the eye because Satan made her look at it in a different way. He made her look at it to see it his way. After she had saw how y'all's plan of salvation was to live long life with Adam and Eve in eternity. But Satan made him look at something different. He made him see for the world now. He said, you can have the pleasures of this world now. You can have heaven now. That's why you're trying to make Eve see. You could be like gods. And that's what Satan is doing to us. You can have heaven now. If you take it now, it's like trade a lifetime for a day in paradise. That's what Satan's main thing is, to deceive people. Trade your eternity for a day right here, and you trade it right now, then you can get eternity later. That's what Satan is trying to say. So he's trying to make you look at a different way, trying to make you lose your focus. If you don't look things through spiritual eyes, you won't catch that. Ahmad? So that's what Satan's goal is. We all know that he's the great deceiver. But Eve saw that as food for good. She lost her focus. She started seeing things at another way. Started seeing things worldly. When God gives you a vision, he will test your faith. And that's the thing about it. When he gives you a vision, gives you a mission, or makes you see things of holy, he will test your faith. And he did that. He did that with Jacob. He did that with Jacob. If you go turn to Genesis 32, verse 24 and 30. Genesis chapter 32, 24 through 30. And this is not much of a vision. Like, we know that Joseph had visions thing, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Genesis chapter 32. I want to show you how when he tested you, and the only way to test you is he's going to try you and to see you. And once you got the vision, he's going to make sure you keep your faith, to make sure you keep focused. And this is what happened with Jacob right here. So let's go to 24, verse 24, and it reads, and Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not go. And he said, I will not let thee go until thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince thou hast power with Yah and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, therefore it is that thou dost ask me thy name. And he blessed them there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. And I have seen Yah face to face, and my life is preserved. Verse 30, he said, I've seen Yah face to face, and my life is preserved. So he has seen spiritual things. He had wrestled with a man all night in the dark, but he has seen spiritual things. This was Yah was testing Jacob to see what he's going to do, what he said he was going to do. He was testing to see if he's going to be a man of faith and wrestle with him. The thing I realized about that, y'all's got to change your name. If you wrestle with Yah and you do what he says, he's going to change your name, because it was Jacob the deceiver, but he had to change it into Israel because he prevailed against them. He knew that he was going to keep his faith, and he saw things spiritually through the night. Because remember, Jacob saw the ladder, saw the heaven from the heavens going down to the earth, and Melechizedek coming up and down the ladder. So he saw spiritual things, and this was y'all's going to test him to see if you saw spiritual things, if he's going to do the things that you say he was going to do. The same thing with Moses. Moses saw spiritual things. He was y'all's messengers. But we know Moses, the physical things that the people saw of Egypt, the children of Israel, was Egypt in sin. Time and time again, like I said in my last sermon, when the children of Israel left Egypt and got delivered, they wanted to go back to Egypt, wanted to go back to sin, because they could not see the spiritual things. They kept seeing the physical. They kept talking about all the fish, all the cucumbers, all the things we had in Egypt, and they wanted to go back. They didn't see the promised land. They saw the promised land because it was spoken to them after they got delivered. But when things got hard, like the bishop was saying, they started getting persecuted. They didn't see that. They saw the physical things. They wanted to go back to Egypt. The thing about seeing things spiritually, you got to see things in the future and afar off. You got to see the blessings that's not even there. And that's what Yah was trying to tell them. That's what Moses was trying to tell them. But they didn't see that. All they could see was the physical things. All they could see was sand, dirt, hard times, famine, hunger, thirst. That's all the physical things that Satan had put into them when they was on their way to the promised land. Y'all had already delivered them. And then he said, I'm going to deliver you to a place of milk and honey. Now, I ain't never seen no land of milk and honey. They ain't never seen milk and honey because they was living in Egypt. All they got was cucumbers and fish. So at one point in time, they was believing in the word of Yah, a land of milk and honey that they never seen. So they had spiritual vision for a short time until Satan came and diluted that. And then the only thing, they went back to the earthly thing. We want to stay here in Egypt. We don't want to progress. After we had got the vision, after the prophet said, there's a land over there with milk and honey that was promised to us. After we had crossed the Red Sea, we know that we have the power of Yah is with us, just like it was with Jacob. And we still didn't believe because they lost their focus and they lost their vision. And that's when they started turning back and they lost their spiritual sight. And Yah doesn't like that. And once you go forward, put your hand to the plow, looking back, you ain't fit for the kingdom of Yah. And it's all about your faith. And Yah does this for validation, like I said, because Satan, we know, can deceive. And we know he doesn't have the same power as Yah, but he has the same kind of tricks he used to deceive us. And it's all about the physical. Remember when Moses had dropped his staff, his rod, and it turned into a snake. And then what did Pharaoh do? He had his magicians and his witchcraft people throw down their rods too, and they turned into snakes. So what they're saying is that Satan can do the same thing to make you see that whatever's out there that is not real. And you can do the same thing, but it was for a moment of time. But as we know that y'all snakes ate the snakes of Pharaoh to know that he still has power over them. That's right. But the thing is, Moses kept focus. He didn't lose his focus when he picked up the rod by the tail. He turned back into the snakes. When he picked up the snakes, he turned back into a rod, and that shows he had power. And it shows that Yah was with him, and he kept his focus. Looking through spiritual eyes, the thing that about it though, of the promised land, Joshua and Caleb, they had spiritual eyesight. They said spiritual eyes. When they spied to the promised land, they saw everything that's over there. When they came back to give the report, the other spies that were with them, they lost their focus. They didn't have spiritual eyes. They were talking about all the giants. They were talking about all the giants that's there. They're going to eat us. They're over there killing the people over there. And they didn't have spiritual eyes. But Joshua and Caleb did. They saw the promises of the promised land. They saw the land of milk and honey. They kept focus on their sight, and they believed everything that Yah was telling them. Go to Numbers 13. Numbers 13, verse 30 and 33. And this is what happens when you have spiritual eyes. You won't see anything else. You won't get scared. You won't lose your focus because you have spiritual sight. That means you're seeing things the way Yah sees it. You're seeing the good things. You're seeing power. You're seeing
What verse was that?
Numbers chapter 13, verses 30 through 33. And it reads, And Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are able to overcome it. Caleb saw the same thing as the other spies did, but look what he said. He stilled the people. He tried to calm the people down. He said he tried to encourage the people. Said, let's go to this land that was promised to us and possess it, because he had spiritual eyesight. He believed in the word, and he believed in the word and everything that Yah was telling him. He believed in the promises. That was our promised land. He didn't see it, didn't get deterred, but the people didn't see it like that. But 31, but the men that went up with him said, But we be not able to go against the people, for they are stronger than we. And 32, and they brought up an evil report of the land for which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, The land through which we have gone to search it is the land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that they saw it are the men of great stature. right there, their sight got changed and focused on the physical things, and that's what Satan just wanted to do. He just took away all their glory. He just took away all their dreams, all their hope, all their blessings right there. Was letting them look at things on the physical. Caleb and Joshua looking at things on the spiritual. They knew that they had the power of Yah. It was already promised. So they said, let's go possess it. They were seeing that they already had it because it was already promised to them. So when the people reneged on that and they didn't have trust and faith in Yah, so Yah took it away from them. And that's when the congregation couldn't go over there. The people of Israel couldn't go over there, and it was kind of a curse. The generation was kind of cursed. Go to chapter 14, verse 3. And it shows, and it reads, Numbers chapter 14, verse 3. And therefore have Yah brought us into this land, and to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be prey, and were it not better for us to return to Egypt? Again, there goes the decision of man. They turned their eyes off of the promised land and turned to the physical, and then they wanted to go back to Egypt. Verse 4, and they said to one another, let us make a captain, and let us go return to Egypt. They went all that way. All they had to do was cross the river, get to the promised land. But now they want to go make a captain, fire Moses, and go back to Egypt because they're seeing things of the physical. They weren't seeing things of the future. If you see things of the physical, of the now, and then Satan comes in and throws a little salt in your game, then you want to run away scared. Like I said, it's going to what the bishop was saying right along with his little sermon. It's just that one little thing, one little sight, and all of a sudden their minds get changed. And they want to change from the spiritual, and they change to the physical. You got to keep things on the spiritual. You got to see the way Yah. You got to see things the way Yah wants to see it, and see it through His eyes. I know it's kind of hard to say see it through Yah's eyes, but looking spiritual, seeing things of the spiritual, of the supernatural, and that's the way Caleb and Joshua saw it. And Yah blessed them for that. He blessed them that He said, "You're the only two that's going to go over to the promised land because y'all were faithful to the vision that I have given you." And that became of Him. And that's the problem with the world today, that if we don't see things spiritually and go have spiritual sight, we would never enter the promised land, or we would never enter the kingdom of Yah because of the things we look at the physical. We are not of this world. That's what Yahushua said. We're not of this world. We're strangers. Do not let your hearts and treasure on the things of this world. That's what He was trying to tell to His disciples and the people He saved. Satan's going to give you all this. A man a man has silver and gold, lose his whole soul. What gain is a man that does that? Have all the riches, lose his whole soul. That's what Yahushua was saying. That's why the rich man couldn't give up all his possessions, because he was thinking of the worldly things. I got all this money. If I lose it, I'm going to be poor. But the thing is, Yahushua was saying, you're going to be rich in heaven. You just don't know it yet, but I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to show you something. And let's go to David. David is a man that had vision. He had a spiritual vision, even though in the midst of Satan, right in front of his face, he looked past he saw the forest before the trees. You can't see the forest because of the trees. That old saying, David saw that in the midst of Goliath. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 17 and show how if you have spiritual vision, if you keep your eyes on the things of Yah, then you can get through anything, whatever Satan throws at you. And you won't get deterred. You won't lose heart. And these are the promises that was told to him. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 20. And it reads, and David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with their keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him, his father Jesse. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, and the army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage and ran into the army, and he came and saluted his brethren. Verse 23, and he talked with him, and behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of God, Goliath, by the name of out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words, and David heard them. And the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were sore afraid. Verse 24, the men of Israel, when they saw Goliath, they fled for him and were afraid. That's again showing Satan that he puts something, an obstacle in you. He puts something in your face to make you turn away from the very thing that y'all has promised you. They didn't have spiritual eyes. They right then and there, they saw the physical. They saw Goliath, and they became afraid. The thing about it, they had the Israelite army behind them, and they've been winning wars since Saul was king. And now all of a sudden, they have this one thing in front of them, and they get scared and turn away. But David saw otherwise. As you read on, 25, and the men of Israel said, have we seen this man that has come up surely to defy Israel? Is he come up? And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. David spake to the men and stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living Yah? David asked again, he said, hey, what do I get if I kill this giant right here? Oh, this man right here? He said, what? I'm going to get the king's daughter. I'm going to get some riches.
You keep up.
Say what again, brother?
I said you keep up.
You found out later, yeah. You found out later. But David knew his destiny. He already knew that he was anointed or ordained by Samuel that he's going to be king. And this is one step closer to his destiny right here. So David was, when he heard that, he said, all I got to do is kill this one Philistine, and whatever that y'all promised to me is mine. So he took that. He saw that spiritually, with his spiritual eyes, that the only thing stopping him from his destiny was this thing right here. And then he, as you know, David was a small child. He was a teenager. And you got these men, these mighty men of valor, fighting with Saul, that saw Goliath and wanted to run and turn tail. And David was a teenager, and he said, this is all I got to do, stop me from getting this, is to kill this. To kill this man right here, that's uncircumcised Philistine, that defined my Yah, my God, my Most High. And he took offense to that, just like the bishop was saying. He said, you are embarrassing my Yah, my King. And he took offense to it, and he's ready to stand up. He's ready to kick tail, to go at it. Verse 27. And the people answered to him the same matter, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him. So the people reconfirmed this, like after he asked them questions, he said, yeah, if you do this, then you shall be a great man amongst them. But once again, that once you have a vision, I noticed that Satan will always throw some shade in your way. Once you see, start looking through the eyes, spiritual eyes, Satan don't want that. Once he gets any inclination that you are seeing holy, he's gonna try to throw some shade, some deception in your eyes, and that's what happened with David. And he used his own family members. Verse 28. And when Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he had spoken unto the men, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why camest thou hither? And when thou hast left those few sheep in the wilderness, I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thy heart, and thou have come down, thou art come that thou mightest see the battle. And like I said, every time you start to do something for y'all, or do something for the kingdom, or see your destiny, Satan will throw some shade in there. He will throw somebody to come against you. And this time it was David's own brother. Asked him, why you come down here? Why are you doing that? You shouldn't even be here. Who's watching the sheep? Who's watching the house? Trying to deter him because David was already focused. And that's what Satan does. He tries to throw some shade in there. And this is what David replied in verse 29. And David said, what have I done? And what is their cause? He was saying, I'm not doing anything. I'm just following my destiny. I see some things you don't see. I came here to give you lunch, but I see something greater out here that I can be helped. And then why are you trying to throw shade at me? I'm not doing anything. And that's what people do when you're doing things. When you're doing right and you're doing just, and they're doing right by y'all, then they'll try to throw some shade and you try to take your sight off the prize. And like I said, David saw that, and he saw things as spiritual. And it reminded me of the same thing as he had that Joshua spirit in him. He saw the promised land behind Goliath. He saw the forest from the trees, and that's what we need to do as a people of y'all. Everybody in the world sees the trees. They said, I can't do this because I ain't got no money, or I'm too small, or my physicalities, I ain't got this, I ain't got that. But after y'all promise you something, like he promised the children of Israel, there's nothing can stop you when you have y'all on your side. And that's what David was trying to portray here. He already saw the vision. He already saw his destiny because Samuel had anointed him. So he saw his kingship before his eyes. Go to verse 28. And like I said, his brother was the hater in this and being used by Satan for his deception. And the brother was throwing that shade, and he said, but David basically saying, talk to the hand, I ain't trying to hear it because stand before my destiny. Let's jump to verse 32. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight this Philistine. And that means he was focused and he wasn't letting, he seeing things spiritual, that he knew his destiny, he was going to go for it. And, verse 33, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. Again, more shade from the shade tree, I call it, and more haterade from Saul. If you look at it, he was trying to deter David because I guess he knew David's anointing and his blessing. But Saul, same thing. If you go back to 1 Samuel chapter 9, when Samuel was going to anoint Saul, he said the same thing. The doubt. He said, I am the smallest in my tribe. I'm the smallest of the tribe of Israel, and my family is the least of the tribe of Benjamin. He's saying the same thing that he's trying to say to David, even though Saul forgot that he said the same thing to Samuel. So what I'm saying is some people lose their place. Some people throwing that shade in you, and you about to take their spot, or to try to get their blessings, will throw the same kind of shade at you that they received as themselves. And that's what Saul was doing right here with David, because he knew his destiny, and he tried to throw his sight off. And then in verse 34, David said unto Saul, thy servant kept thy father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And then I went out after him and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when it arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. It's a little side note. I know y'all probably know this too, but maybe TV Land don't know. This is another depiction of the Savior, Yahushua. When he's talking about, he leaves the 99 and goes after the one. This is what David did as a shepherd right here. He left his father's sheep and ran after that lion and the bear to go after that one lamb. And that's what Yahushua does to us. When we leave, he comes after us with a vengeance. He comes after us, with aggressive, because he knows what we are to the kingdom. Again, that's why I'm saying, don't let nobody let you lose your spiritual sight, because you are important to the kingdom of Yah, and he will come after you if you're worthy. If you lose your sight or lose your focus. But if you leave on your own, sometimes, he won't come after you because he wants you to learn your lesson and get chastised. But he won't let you die out there to the world. And David, in verse 37, David said, moreover, Yah had delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, and he would deliver me out of the hand of the Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and may Yah be with thee. And Saul armed David with his armor, and put his helmet and brass upon his head, and he also armed him with his coat of mail. And reading this right here, Saul tried to arm David with his armor, but it didn't work. It was too big. And the thing about it, you can't use nobody's armor, or you can't use nobody's mantle or anointing. This is what this verse is saying right here. If you got some spiritual vision, if you got a destiny, if you got something from y'all, you can't use anything else that y'all has blessed with somebody else. You got to use your own mantle. You got to use your own anointing placed upon you, or it won't work. And remember, Saul already got disowned by y'all. So basically, whatever he tried to put on David, it would have been a curse anyway. And I think David knew that. He said, I ain't want it anyway. Because remember that David was anointed, and it had to be for the glory of Yah that he was getting blessed. Y'all can't get no glory from Saul, so he had to do it through David and everything he was doing. And that was in verse 39. In verse 40, And he took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones out of the brook and then put it in the shepherd's bag that he had. And even his scrip and his sling was in his hand. He drew near to the Philistine. And that goes against 139. You got to use what you got in your hand. You got to use what God gave you. If God gave you a vision, if God gave you some spiritual outlook, you got to use what y'all gave you and don't let nobody else tell you something different. You can't tell your dreams and your visions to everybody else. Or they'll tell you something this. Oh, that's what that dream means. Oh, that's what that vision means. You got to go seek y'all and depend on y'all to give you that revelation to know what is going on with their dreams and visions and look and to get your spiritual outlook. Like I said, Satan knows you under protection of y'all. And when Satan knows when you're not under protection of y'all. When you're not under protection of y'all, he will throw that shade at you. Because remember, he's like a roaring lion. And a lion smells blood and he knows fear. Just like those men were afraid of Goliath, he saw that. And then they turned tail. But David didn't have no fear. He stood strong in the midst. And let's jump down to verse 46. And this is the last thing we'll talk about David. And it shows how his spiritual vision was strong. Verse 36. This day will y'all deliver thee unto thy hand, and I will smite thee, and I will take thy head from thee, and I will give thee the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth might know that there is a Yah in Israel. Now, what here it was saying is that he was prophesying what was going to happen to Goliath that day. That means he had a spiritual vision. That means he had the Ruach HaKodesh in him. He had the Holy Spirit in him. And that's the only way that you can get spiritual vision and get spiritual sight. You got to have the Ruach HaKodesh in you, the Holy Spirit, or you won't get no spiritual vision. And that's what David was showing here in verse 46. If you don't have any spiritual insight or spiritual vision, that means you got to get the Word and you got to get the Holy Spirit in you and let Him reveal things in all spirit and truth that come upon you to get spiritual sight, to get spiritual vision. And that's what David did with that, and that was his prophecy that he did. And we know the story that he did kill Goliath, cut his head off, and then the armies of Israel prevailed that day. And then David got all the rewards that was promised to him, the hand of the king's wife, of the king's daughter, and got riches. And even made a servant and even made an officer of Saul's army that day. And like I said, to obtain spiritually things, you got to be spiritually minded. And to be spiritually minded, you got to be spiritually of the Spirit. And like the bishop said, to be spiritually of the Spirit, you got to be born again. You got to be born of the Spirit, and you got to have the Ruach HaKodesh in you. That's the only way to get of the Spirit, to be spiritually minded. You got to be born of the Spirit. And the reason why we're not born of the Spirit and we see wicked things because we let Satan deceive us in these things. We get away from the Word and we get away from the truth. And Satan deals with us and he wants to do these things with us and desires of the wrath of that. So what Yahushua was saying, you got to guard your heart. You got to guard your heart and keep your mind on the things of Yah. And we do that, and then we'll be spiritually minded and we have spiritual sight. Let's go to Matthew chapter 4. I won't be before you too long, but we'll go into the New Testament a little bit. We'll show you what being spiritually minded and have spiritual sight. Matthew chapter 4. Verse 5 and 11. 5 through 11. And it reads, some fell on stony ground, and there was not much. Oh, I'm sorry. I was in Mark. Sorry about that. That's another sermon. Matthew chapter 4, verse 5 through 11. And this is when Yahushua was going into the wilderness and Satan was tempting him. And the thing about it that Satan, like I said, he'll tempt you the things of this world, and that's what he showed to Yahushua. Nothing Satan can show you is nothing heavenly because he got nothing to do with heaven. He's the king and Lord of this world. So the things he's going to show you and promise you is going to be of this world. That's why we should take heed to that. And look at verse 5. Then the devil taken him up into the holy city, and seated him on the pinnacle of the temple. And he said unto him, If thou be the Son of Yah, cast thyself down, for it is written, that he should give his angels Malachi's charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up. At least at that time thou dash thy foot against the stone. Like I said, the devil is showing, he took him to the holy city. He took him to Jerusalem in his mind. Just like he do to people right here. He'll give you the world. He say, well, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, if you worship me. But it's only for that moment of time that he'll give you that. Remember my last sermon, Satan, he'll say, he'll quid pro quo. You give me this, I'll give you that. But what he wants from you is your soul. So the things he gives you right now in this world is only for a short time, because his short time in this world is short. So what he's going to give you now is going to be short. And in that time, he's going to acquire your soul. Because this world is not going to last that long. It's but a vapor. No man don't know the time, the day, or the hour that Yahushua is going to come back, and this world is going to end. So that's why if you stay spiritually focused on that, and not the things of the world, you know that those things are for a short time. And that's what Yahushua was doing right here. He said, that thing is just for a short time. And my kingdom is going to be permanent. So he didn't trade a lifetime for a day in paradise. That's what he's doing right here. He didn't trade that one time because he knew that he was promised the kingdom. Y'all had promised him that he's going to get all the glory. He's going to get all the kingdom. If you hold on and stay true to his spiritual vision, that he's going to get things in a later life, in a later world. Yahushua was promised these things at a later time, just like he promised us. Don't set yourself on earthly things or earthly vessels or earthly treasures. Set your things to mind the things of heaven. Set your sights on the heaven and keep focused. And spiritual minded, to see that, you gotta have the mind of the Abba, the Father. To have, we call it eternal vision. You don't have the things of this earth, the flesh. You have eternal vision. Know that my treasure is going to come up after this world ends. After this world ends, I'm going to get my rewards. I'm going to get my mansion. I'm going to get all the things that I'm supposed to be. I'm going to get eternal life if I stay focused and don't sell my soul to the things of this world. And if they have the hope, it's the hope of the Most High through Yahushua that we have spiritual sight. It's been there from the beginning of time, even Adam and Eve. He wanted them to see things spiritually, but they didn't have enough time when Satan deceived them, because Satan knew what was up. He knew that he had a relationship with Yah, and they was going to be his children forever, but he had stopped that and caused them to sin and make them lose focus. Now they see things of the world. Eve saw lust this and lust that and things of the world. She saw the tree that's likened for good fruit, and that's what we do today. We see things like a good fruit. Some people want that car, want that house, or want that job, but if they wait for spiritual things, they can get it later. But that job is in a bad place. The job might have all the money, but your job is doing some things not of Yah. That car is that Cadillac. You know you can't afford that Cadillac, but I gotta have it now to the rims and everything now. But if you wait until later, until you get blessed, then you can afford that car without even paying all these down payments on it. But I gotta have it now. You gotta have that microwave love. That's what Satan says. Get your stuff now, because you get it now before somebody else get it. You don't know what the future holds.
Going out of business.
Yes, indeed.
We're going out of business.
Going out of business, but you just don't know it yet. So get yours now. And the same thing and that's all about the flesh, because it's all about the flesh and fleshy things. And if we don't doubt the promises of Yahushua, then we want the things of the spirit, and we won't go on the things of the flesh. Let's go to John real quick, to John 20, and see what happens when we don't believe. It's all about faith. If you don't have faith, you won't have spiritual sight. Let's go to the book of John, chapter 20. Verse 24 to 29. And this is with Thomas. You know what Thomas 1 to 12 called doubting Thomas. When he didn't have faith, he didn't have spiritual eyes to see. Even when he was told of Yahushua's return. 24. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Yahushua came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, We have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, Except I shall see in his hands the print of his nails, and put my finger in the print of his nails, and thrust my hand in his side, I will not believe. And after 8 days again, his disciples were within, and Thomas was with them. Then came Yahushua, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, Peace be unto you. And then he said to Thomas, Reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands, and reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered and said unto him, My Yah, my Elohim. Yahushua said unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, and thou hast believed, blessed are they that have not seen, and have not, and yet have believed. This is down, we call it down the Thomas story. He said, even the disciples said, man, we saw Yahushua, he was right here. All of us said that, but Thomas said, I'm not going to believe that because I got to see it for myself. And that's the thing about the world is we don't believe in the words of Yah unless we got to see for ourselves. Even King Herod said he would need a sign or wonder from Yahushua to know that he was the Messiah, knowing that he was the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. But the thing about it, that Thomas was with the midst of his brethren, and he didn't believe them. He said, I got to see for myself. But the thing, when Yahushua came in, he said, peace be unto you. He repeated back verbatim of what Thomas wanted to see or hear. Verbatim. He said, thrust your hand, see my hands, see my feet, see my side. He said, see all this. And he said, yet blessed those who haven't seen and believe. He's saying that he rebuked Thomas because you didn't have no spiritual sight. I've been with you all these 3 years. You've seen the miracles and wonders. You help hand out fish. You help hand out bread. And you see all these wonderful wonders and miracles and things, and you still not believe because you have no spiritual sight. And that means, because Satan has took your sight away. You believe in the things of this world because he saw his Savior crucified. But he didn't believe on the word that he's going to be resurrected. He didn't believe the words of his brother who just told him that we just saw the Messiah, the Mashiach. So the things you need to do to get your spiritual sight, like I said, you need to be born again of the water and the spirit, or you're not going to have no spiritual sight or vision or anything, or you're not going to have anything of y'all. You won't believe on the healings, you won't believe on miracles, you won't believe on the word, you won't believe that you'll be restored, you won't believe in deliverance, and you won't even have any faith at all if you're going to be born of the water and spirit. And that's what it comes down to today. People who are carnal are going to have carnal vision. They're going to believe on things that are physical. That's why when we go out there to testify and witness, they don't believe in the Mashiach, they don't believe in Yahushua because they don't see the signs and wonders. They don't see no tomb, they don't see any evidence, physical evidence of Yahushua being here. But even though all the history books say that, even the word says that, even though all the poets and historians in Greek literature say that, they still won't believe it until they see a sight. They'll believe on a comet. They'll believe on stars and the stars in the galaxies to move, or the sun to turn, or the moon to turn red before they start believing things, which is already prophesied in the Bible about the truth about Yahushua's coming back in his return. Even the Pharisees, even when Yahushua was talking about, you must believe in me, or drink my water, drink my blood, and eat my flesh, that you must have these things, or you will have no part in me. Even the Pharisees were saying, how can we eat this man's flesh and drink of this man's blood? They didn't have spiritual sight. They was thinking of the fleshy things. They were kind of grossed out about it. They thought he was they kind of think he was some kind of Satan or some kind of demon. But he's thinking about spiritually. If they had spiritual eyes, they would have saw that he was talking about him being his body being broken and his blood being spilled for their salvation, which was spoke about last night. But like I said, the woman at the well got it. She got spiritual sight. Peter got it when he called him the Mashiach. He got that because he had that spiritual sight of not of the natural, but of the supernatural. And that's what kind of sight we need to have today. In the day, if we want to continue on this journey, to find revelation about our salvation, about our souls. And finally, I want to talk about worldly vision and how easy the things is of this world and go after false gods.
Right.
You know,
Before you go on from me.
yes, sir.
Also, yeah, that is true about people on the sign. It's also good to let your light shine so they can see the sign of Christ in us. So they can see our light shine and they can be like, oh, okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, that's a good point. Yes, we are ambassadors. We are the representation of Yahushua. We are this image, so we do have to see that. And once they've seen that, they will say, well, tell me more about this man. I want to know more about him, and that's how we do it for being an example. Exactly right, bro. I appreciate that. But if we lose our sight and the vision, then others will lose their sight and vision too, like the bishop was saying. If we allow the deception to come in and we lose our focus, and then everybody else will lose their focus as the leaders of other churches and everything. And plus, we can't rely on the things of this world. And even if we see this world going to hell in a handbasket, and if we see that, and if we see people getting the riches and the Cadillacs and the cars and the houses, we got to stay focused on the eternal things that we're looking for. And let's go to that last scripture I want to show you on Psalm 73. Psalm 73, verse 2. And I like the psalm right here. It showed that there's this man that was in the world and watching all this come before him. He was watching how all the world was getting all this good stuff and getting all these things, and he was not getting anything. And he was thinking about going through those things in the world. But luckily and graciously that he had to change his heart. Now we'll start at verse 1. Truly Yah is good to Israel, even to such as are a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. What he was saying is that he almost had slipped and followed the world. He was scared to do the things of the world. He's about to hang up his religion, about to hang up his things for y'all because the world was getting over. He was saying, why am I doing this thing and not getting anything? And then my neighbor over there's got the house, got the car, got the money. He said, I'm going to go start doing some of that. It's time to get paid, is what he was trying to say. Verse 3, for I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked, what I was just saying. He was jealous. He was covetous. See, I want some of that too. I'm not getting anything being a pastor or a preacher, but that guy over there is getting triple that. So why should I be doing that? I can do that and be a pastor. Some people in the world are saying that right now. Verse 4: for there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as the other men, neither are they plagued like other men. But he's saying right there, they ain't getting in trouble. They ain't got caught by the police. They're not paying no taxes. They ain't paid taxes in 10 years. They ain't got to pay no wife, no alimony, no child support. These cats are getting over it, basically is what he's saying. Therefore, pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. He's seeing that even though they were getting all this stuff, they were prideful. They was like untouchable. They're getting over, like you see most of these gangsters, drug dealers, like nothing can touch them. They're getting over. And it is kind of appealing to the world because of their riches and all the vanity. Their eyes stand out as fatness, and they have more than the heart could wish. They have everything the world could desire. They got the house, the car, the riches, the statue. Verse 8, they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression, and they speak lawfully. They're like, man, forget that. Well, I used to say that there is no Yah, there is no God. You better get yours now. And this is the works of Satan. They say, when you die, this one's the atheist. When you die, there's nothing else after afterlife. When you die, that's it. You might as well go ahead and get your stuff now, because after that, there's no afterlife. You just become dust or atomic matter and things like that. And that's why I'm saying that you say, I'm getting mine now, because there ain't nothing after this life right here. Verse 9, they set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. Therefore his people return hither, and waters of a full cup are run out to them. And he got a following. Everybody sees how he's living. He's got the money to cash, so people turn to him because he's living in the world riches, and not turning to the things of Yah. Their sight, they don't have spiritual vision. They want the riches now. They want microwave love now of this world, and not waiting on the promises of Yah. They don't like the promises of you will get your riches in glory. You will have a mansion in glory. You'll be blessed in glory. But they want it now. Some of them think they can have both. I want to they equivalent spiritual wealth and glory to earthly wealthy riches now, which is not the two things. You can't serve two masters. Verse 11, and they say, how does God know? How do y'all know? And is there knowledge in the Most High? Well, it's starting to question y'all. It's like, again, is there a God? Is there Yah? It must not be. And they're saying, well, how's that man? Is there a God? And how come you're not striking that guy down there? Is that drug dealer or that pimp or that child, pornographer and things like that. He said, how you let these things go? I'm doing everything right. I'm going to Shabbat every day. I'm praying 3 times a day. I'm giving my tithes of money, but I'm not getting anything. And this guy over there is still, he's over there a racketeer, a child molester, a pimp, and he's selling drugs, and he's still getting over like a fat rat. How come we not struck him down yet, y'all? That's what he's trying to say. And he's starting to say, is there really is it, y'all? Then why, where your promises? Where's your wrath? Where's your justice at? This is what this man was seeing. He's seeing all this. And every day he's doing the right thing. He's the neighbor on the other side of the fence, going to work every day 9 to 5. Or this guy's getting up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and going to the pool and chilling with a bunch of women at the poolside. That's what he's seeing right now. That's what he's crying out to y'all right now. So how can this be? Let's jump down to verse 17. And this is when he had a change of heart. We jump down to verse 17. Let's go to verse 16. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me. It's when, like I said, he was seeing all these things happen, and he's like, it's too painful for me that to see all this corruption and stuff. Then in 17, he had a change of heart. Until I went into the sanctuary of Yah, and then I understood therein. This is when he started getting the sight. This is when he started getting his spiritual vision back before he got overtook. When he got into the house, into the presence of Yah, is when Yah started speaking to him. He said, that's for a short time. He said, this was going to happen to them. He started revealing things to them. They're going to be consumed by their own guilt, their own pride, their own lust, their own desires. That stuff's going to burn away. They're going to be going to hell. You're going to be up with me in Abraham's bosom into the heavens. Because if you're following me, that is just for a short time. Mine is eternity. My riches are eternity. My glory is eternity for what I have for you. No eye have seen, no ear have heard for the things I have for you. Verse 18, surely thou set them in the slippery places, and thou castest them down into destruction. What he's saying is, now he's seeing their destruction. Now he's seeing through spiritual eyes that everything's going to happen to them on that blessed day, on that day of justice, on the great white throne. And now they're going to be on the left side, and he's going to be on the right side. He says, now you see, but until he didn't come to the presence of Yah and start seeing things through Yah's eyes and spiritual vision, he did not see the destruction and all the things the world is going through. And that's what we have to do today. Until we keep our eyes focused and have spiritual eyes, and keep our eyes on him and not of the world, and we won't fall into that trap and snare that Satan has for us. And that's what we need to do, to have spiritual vision and to see things through spiritual eyes and be spiritual minded.
On reading, man. All right. Also study. Let's just talk about the vision, spiritual vision. And so we got to keep on. Like I said, Yahushua said, if you do it to the end, the saints should be saved. That's one thing Yahushua said. And especially, he said in Revelations, we got to be overcomers. Overcoming what? Of this life right here, and all that sin and all that lust and then covenant and covetousness and all this stuff that's trying to lure us in. And like I said last night, something to take us out of the damn book of life, And that's one thing. So that's what this whole job of Satan is. And like you said in Revelations chapter, 12 verse 17? Yes, that's the whole job of Satan right there. You know what I'm saying? The seed, you're going after the seed, the one that keeps y'all's commandments right there. All right, Elder. All right, thank you, Shalom. You keep y'all's commandments, the one that's testing after Yahushua's testimonies. That's what Satan wants. And like I said, we had that heavenly vision, that Shamarine vision, that Yah has given us, the one that's been born again of the water and the spirit. And that's what, Yah's been dealing with us about, He's just telling you to keep on, you know what I'm saying? Or like the 5 foolish and the 5 wise, they kept the oil in their lamp. The ruler says, give us some. So they don't lost the vision, man. They let it seep out. So he said, if we give you some, we won't have enough to keep ours. So we got to keep that vision. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep that intent in your heart, that mindset that you got to run this race, And like I said, this race is not quick. You know what I'm saying? It's not fast. You got to dare to running on this race. It's what Yahushua has given us. It's every day you get up. Prayer and fast. If you fast or you're praying, you read your Dareen, you're seeking Yah each day that you live, you know. You got to keep that vision. You know, Yah has given us. Yah has given each of us a vision. Yah has given each of us faith. A measure of grain of mustard seed of faith. You know, that faith is of Yah. And Yah telling that Yah would never leave us or forsake us. Alright? Alright, TV Land. Again, I'm thankful to be in the house of Yah. I'm glad you're here with me. To everybody out there in Burundi, Jabora, in India, to all my bishop friends and pastors, I say salutations. I leave the doors open to now the house of Yah. To anybody that's looking to be saved, anybody looking to have their sins washed away, all you got to repent before Yahuwah. I can't repent to me, and I ain't going to do no sinner's prayer with you. You know, I don't even believe in that. Talking about a sinner's prayer. You the one that sinned. You got to take it to your Abba, to the one that forgives you. You know, you want to sin against Yahuwah. You didn't sin against me or anything. I don't even know what you done did. You take that stuff, that junk you got, man, to Yah. You know what I'm saying? Ask Yah to forgive you, which He will. Then you come to me, and then I will acknowledge and say, yes, you told me, I had to go to my father, your father. I had to go to Yah and get this stuff. I had to go and ask for forgiveness. That's great. And then they say, I believe, then I tell you to get that stuff washed off of you, man. That's through baptism. Must be born again of the water and the Spirit. That water is baptism. And I will tell you, hey, get baptized in Yahushua's name for remission of sins. You know, and he said, yeah. And then I asked you, do you know what name do you get your sins washed away? He said, yeah, Yahushua. I make sure that out of your mouth, my mouth, and Yahuwah hears out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses that you know that name, and you know what name that you got baptized in, so you will have no excuse when somebody else asked you, and you will know. When somebody asks you that question, yes, I did get baptized in Yahushua's name. The only saving name amongst heaven, under heaven and earth, that a man must be saved. That name of Yahushua. There's another name where a man must be saved. Now I will baptize you in the name of Yahushua for remission of sins, and you shall receive the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh. I'm not giving you, Yahuwah will give you, He will baptize you with fire, and with that fire. Okay, so again, I'm thankful to be in the house of Yah on the Shabbat day, and I'm glad everybody else is here and worship with me with Yahuwah. Again, to Burundi, and hear my words. Pastor Desiree, I pray that you listen to this tape. You know, if you heard it, you know, I've done nothing against you, sir, but I speak what I speak. You know, and I pray that you understand this, because this is what's going to help you and your family and everybody and but your boy Burundi. This will help the church grow, but this will help your soul. I want to care about your soul. So I'm praying that you take heed to this message that's given out there. How you had the spiritual eyes, continue on, because me and you, we already have a vision of building many churches in Jabora and all of Burundi. We have visions, and I want to be there with you. I want to build these churches with you. I want the Bezerah to get out. I want people to get to the kingdom before Yahushua comes. Because when Yahushua comes, He's coming for the children of disobedience. You get caught under that side, you get cut with a sword. So, again, the doors are open. Speak blessings to everybody in Timanan. May Yah bless you, keep you. May Yahuwah make His face shine upon you, be gracious to you. May Yah live His comfort upon you, give you peace in Yahushua's name. May Yah make you ride on a high place of earth and feature the heritage of your cove, with the heritage with Joseph Cove, with the heritage of Abraham, for the mouth of Yah spoken, for the mouth of Yah spoken in Yahushua's name. Amen. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.